asa ne bekwa ahoma no so na ye ne opanyi gyantoa atwetwe nkomo kai so embedanim ni san so edikuo ahodo bi anim a omoboa na omotwe aban adwen esisi normal ahodo a ekoso o man yi mu no asa ne bekọ no ma menka ka no ma bi mampanyi na ado danko akufuado dana eye afofida ye di si wo se ye de kankai bra ye twerɛ ye 1992 constitution any here ye no woni civil society organizations ahodo asia ye ena wode nsɛm ahodo to mani but nsɛm ba ko a wode to mani madi akotene ne mmabunu no de omo frɛ sɛ nsi wo man mu asia ɛyɛ the review mechanism and say akwa ahodo a yɛde bɛto a yɛde bɛhwɛ na ya sakyera yɛ mmara pon ni mu no ɛno mampanyi esi ni gyina yɛ ɛwɔ ho na asɛm sɛ ɛna ɔka yɛ tiwe
Table, Dr. Kwete is one of them who know about my attitude to the effort that one of my predecessors, the late Professor Mills, made to revise the Constitution. I never agreed with the methods by which the whole undertaking was taken. I don't believe that the Constitution is the work of the President of the Republic. Having regard to the difficulties that our country has had to arrive at a multi-party constitutional dispensation that has endured. And the Fourth Republic is the one that has endured. We saw the First Republic, which had its own problems, authoritarian rule, one-party rule. We had the problems of the Second Republic. We had the problems involved in the Third Republic, all of which were short-lived. To have a republic that has lasted nearly 30 years in the context of our history, to change the constitutional arrangements that have assisted this durability, we should be very careful how we go about it. I feel very strongly on that point, and that is why I have not lent my support to the idea of this wholesale review of the
asem na oka se ye den sachra ye beba ye constitution no ye hwe ye ebo ya namontuo ho ene se ye yesi pre ape sade no bakai wabra no refer to the fact that President John Evans Mills of blessed memory na penso and a constitutional review commission no eye na dwuma nanka ye to anamon de sansakra ye da ba no na the refi na mampanyi na nado danko ekufuado e refi say as far back as 2008 aye presidential debate wono kra na di kan de asem no bae look mampanyi na nado so hwe ya mamenka ne o kai in 2008 about the need to review the Constitution.
Definitely, after 16 years of operating a constitution, especially since both the major political parties in our country have had an opportunity to work it, there are several matters that have come up for discussion. And my way forward is that those issues will put a constitutional review commission in place very soon after taking office, to go around the country collecting the views of our people to see how strong is this demand for reform. There are matters that all of us know about. Ministers in Parliament, should they come from Parliament? The powers of the Attorney General, should they be separated? The issue as to whether or not we should have a Prime Minister rather than a Vice President, like many of our neighbors do. The term of the President has come up. Is 4 years the ideal term for us, or are we talking 5 years? We've got the question of the election of district chief executives. Is that something that we want to see, or we want to have them appointed? These are some of the issues. We're talking, for instance, also about the creation of regions. We have at the moment very stringent provisions for creating more regions. Should we have looser provisions? I think these are the matters that the Constitutional Review Commission will take before our people. And if the answer is in the affirmative, that yes, there is a widespread demand out there, then to initiate the processes in the Constitution for amending the Constitution. That would be my response.
MPP presidential candidate for 2008 elections and now ye man pay nanado danko kufuado ono na atenenka. Now we'll make it the case for the need say ye betu anamon ya sase na ya yen sakremu anasa nsakraye ewo ye mra ponim sabre na edin say 16 years he say ye ne na manfi aduasani na constitution yi baaye wono gra na de sa adwen ne brae e baaye edi kan baaye the question na ye busa na namso wakofa asasam ne baaye was on corruption ketase ene proye ho yebuza ne said ye no be ya fa ho na no kasa fa ye mra pon no ne akwansidie ene no ma bia wo se ye hwe city so hwe member of parliament or sanso ye minister provisions a ye hia ebetimi ayi no ma bebre afri akwan mu na yetima creative regions ene ne ho nkro ne ba eba local governance system na se eye amamuo ewo fam ho ye nkurase anase ye nkuro enketu anim no ede ne yebetima ye se de be ya yebetimi apa o mpanimfo a wo mu betima boa ama empuntro aba ase ho wenyina ye nsema mampanyin na nado danko akufodo candidate akufodo in 2008 wo me maso na wabra Professor John Evans Satamnos etie ni din no wo de ose ye yo wo mu se nyon no na de sa idea ne bae at that time on that IEA debate platform no but ne nsema wo kafa eye ehia say ye be san sekremu our 1992 constitution no ebi ne ye fanka ya ho.
After 16 years, one has to take a look at the constitution. Clearly, changes have come, and there's a need for us to take a fresh look at the constitution, what needs to be done. One area is with the vice presidency. If I talk about it, one should not be surprised. The appointment of the vice president, where the vice president has a problem with the president, what happens? We look at the judiciary. Is there going to be an upper limit to the number of judges to the Supreme Court? You look at decentralization, how effective it is. How can we make the people, decide their own fate and destiny? Now there's also the question of members of parliament. Should they be ministers? Can they combine and combine effectively? What are we doing about parliament to strengthen parliament?
The late President John Evans Satamils and our tenant in 2008, the way to a very strong sabre na ye mrapono and vie dunsiano and no ye de ayeduma sabre ye kasa vie duasani and I de say mrapono ayeduma mebunu no do na say mrapono mampanyin to me do because mampanyin na yi FDA boss mampanyin na yi the other yoko anon mampanyin ewe then you see yen sacrament people grand just a constitution crowd yen to yen perfo lawyer ayiko to ewa homa no so mamani ni nkomotew na me menje na dwen kire ewo saade yi ho lawyer machi akwa abaye da asese wa japan yes on ye bekasa ewo Power FM and a TV XYZ.
You know, I speak Ghana for English.
Very much aware. Thank you so much for joining us, though. Thank you so much. Very well. So on this whole conversation about whether or not to review the 1992 Constitution, for others, for instance, the Economic Fighters League, they actually do not want to see the 1992 Constitution. They say, look, it does not meet the aspiration of our time. I mean, where do you stand on this whole conversation, really?
Well, those talks are a little unfortunate, because you need to know the history of the Constitution that we are operating today. And then the issue would like so that, for example, that there were things that we did not like with respect to the old Constitution. So we made efforts to make changes. For instance, some people believe that the Ghana Bar Association boycotted the Constitution Drafting Committee, which is true. But those of us who were then lawyers already and senior members will tell you that we set up a committee to go into the matter, realizing that whatever the consultative committee report will come out, it will affect all of us. So we cannot just say that because they gave us only one slot and they added the butchers and Mokola women and the rest, which was what we were against, then we're not going to take part at all. Contrary to that, we met and put in and made our inputs. Now, you see, there are some of the things that people now talk about.
Yeah.
They've lost sight of why they were put there. For instance, you will find this whole argument about majority of ministers coming from parliament.
Yeah.
There is a history to it, in the sense that Lehman in 1979, under that constitution, had a free hand to appoint his ministers from anywhere that he chose. It turned out that he sent his budget to Parliament. He did not have ministers who are also members of Parliament to support or back him, and therefore the budget was rejected by Parliament. It is having regard to such history that in the 1992 Constitution, the Consultative Assembly members felt that then to avoid such a thing happening, why don't we make a law now saying that the president must rather appoint more of his ministers from Parliament? That is the reason for it. You understand? Now, if we have run the Constitution for 30 years and we find that now is becoming a problem, we can look at it. Because after all, how long did Lehman's government last for us to have seen the difficulties and dangers associated with we giving him free hand to go outside Parliament and pick his ministers from anywhere? I don't have a problem, but to create the impression that is what is causing all the corruption we have in this world because everybody wants to be appointed a minister and all that, it's not fair.
Okay, there are some, I mean, as you talk about corruption, there are some who have attributed to the president's quote and unquote excessive power that the Constitution gives him as one of the reasons why we are unable to deal with corruption, because the president is the one, he's appointing person. I mean, he appoints virtually everybody in government. Is that a stumbling block that needs to be checked as well?
Those who are saying that, are they telling us that the American president doesn't have power to appoint his people?
Yes.
Is it not the same when you have an executive presidency that the bulk stops with him, and therefore all appointments must have to be done with him?
But remember, lawyer, just a minute.
Hold on 1 minute.
Okay.
Just like the American one, we also have checks and balances. It is not the case that the president appoints everybody and that those people just go and assume office. Some of them go to Parliament for approval, and some can be rejected, isn't it? So if the president appoints, and for purposes of checks and balances, the people are sent to Parliament for vetting, and Parliament vets and approves them. Why are you putting everything on the president?
But clearly, the FDA boss is not vetted in Parliament, is he?
Yes, I'm saying in some cases, not all, but in some cases, the people are sent to Parliament. Again, most of these appointments are made with the consent, or if you like, approval, or in consultation with the Council of State. Most. You read the Constitution about appointments given that the president makes. You need to send them to the Council of State. They vet them also, and they can come with their own view that we don't want A, we don't want B. But when you talk of an executive presidency, then all appointments are made by him. What you need to do is to strengthen your institution. You see, when we were having this difficulty about fighting corruption, we thought about bringing the office of the special prosecutor. The idea is that he's not an attorney general, he's not a minister of state. He should be free to do all kinds of prosecutions when he feels that there's evidence so to do. And so we brought out the office of special prosecutor to do away with the attorney general and minister of justice and the fact that they all sit in cabinet and that this person. If you understand, so we for example, judges, people are saying there must be limit to the number, the uppermost limit to the Supreme Court appointments. Yet for some time now, it's always not exceeded 15. So that is what we call convention. We have developed the convention such that the president appoints, but it does not exceed 15.
Very well.
These are all things that come to work for the Constitution. Look, you journalists, some of you who are supporting this thing, have you read the chapter which deals with media protection? Have you realized that it is no longer the president that appoints editors for state media?
Absolutely.
Which they used to do, and therefore they sack them for their editorial opinion. All those things have been taken away. we have given it to an independent media commission to deal with it. We have introduced what we call a rejoinder. If somebody says something about you which you are not happy with, instead of rushing immediately to court, just write to him and ask for the right of rejoinder.
That seems to be fizzling out these days. I mean, these days you're either taken straight to the BNI or grabbed by the national security. So what seems to be happening really?
That one you are talking about government. But I'm saying that an individual, if something is written about you and you don't feel happy about it, you can always ask for a rejoinder.
Absolutely.
In fact, there are cases that the government itself reports journalists to the National Media Commission. Is it not true?
That's true.
It's not always that they are just taking up, but because the laws on spreading fear and what is the other word? Fear and something.
Fear and panic.
That's part of our laws.
Yeah. All right.
Part of our laws. So sometimes they are made criminals, which is unfortunate. But you see that there are a lot of those who are today doing demonstration. Where did they get their right to demonstrate? In those days, you have to ask for permit, police permit, before you can go and have a demonstration. But we have changed the law and said that, look, you have a right to demonstrate. So merely inform the police that you want to go, and then rather seek for police protection, and the police will give you protection.
Interesting.
You don't like this kind of constitution. What do you want?
Lawyer, we'll leave it here. That's how much time will allow us for. But I'm sure this conversation will continue. You better one come so thank you so much. Lawyer, you go to now ten. But and no matter what boss we what kind of here what share I mean to say right to demonstrate. Say o mine na good year na adoma chede na say normal ye wo ye sika ye wo ye be cham na so obia so a ye mra pon no ma ho kwan say wo se sa de ni si no and na wo de to nsane so susu career say na city ye gya ne ha enkomo no ye ni nwe kira nyame ya adoma ye ba beto aso within the prince Kwame Minka mesati wone wo gani mesati ye moache ben that we dey achi den anopay throughout the show ye da as possible dey achi e da bunyina ma say agimanie power ni wa krado a what the biggest mid morning show ebremo ye be hia nyame ya adoma echina bye bye.